Hello and welcome to another video. So in today's video we're going to do a bit of a ramble. So a few months back we heard the announcement that Google Poly was going to be shutting down, so we were all quite sad about that, and obviously I sort of chatted about what that might look like. What does that mean for the future of Google in the sense of the VR and AR situation? I don't necessarily know if we've had an answer to that, and if we have, please do leave a comment below and tell me that I've missed something. But in the meantime, obviously, we've all got our Google Poly accounts. So what do we do with those Google Poly accounts? Do we download everything? And some of you, I'm sure, have been doing that, downloading all your projects and then transferring them over to something like SketchFab. Well, I'm happy to announce, apparently sort of back on the 9th of March, that the Google Poly team and the guys at SketchFab have decided to do a sort of partnership, basically to help us, general public, the users, to transfer all our projects from Google Poly to SketchFab. So I thought I'd do a quick video about it and sort of run through the process so you guys can see how it works. So I'm just going to quickly zoom in here on the article. So very quickly, as you may know, Google Poly, the 3D model sharing site from Google, will be shutting down on June the 30th, 2021, and will no longer allow new uploads to the site from April 2021. We've connected with the Google team to find a seamless solution to transfer the models from Poly to SketchFab, and today we are pleased to announce the launch of Poly to SketchFab app. So you can go to that website, I'll put it in the link below. So basically, you can go through the process. So let's do it. Let's see what it says. It says, okay, Google Poly account. So this is obviously just an example of. Then you've got the SketchFab account, and then you can choose which models you want to transfer over, and then basically do the transfer. Now, for me, one thing I'm going to be really interested in is how much of that data is going to come across, because within Google Poly, as a lot of you know, you can apply your own sort of effects and filters. You can change the lighting, so I'll be interested to see if any of that stuff comes across. For example, if I jump into one of my objects, so let's have a look at the Starfighter holocron. So you can see here, once it loads, a bit slowly, but I've added a bit of extra lighting. I played around with it and stuff, so I'll be interested to see if any of that stuff comes across. So back to the article in question. Okay, so scrolling down, Poly to SketchFab will help members of the Poly community easily transfer their models to SketchFab before Poly closes its doors this summer. We're happy to welcome the Poly community to SketchFab and look forward to exploring their 3D creations. Now that's interesting in the sense of it's almost like SketchFab are taking on the challenge of being that place where people want to put their 3D models and use them externally through APIs and stuff, right? So maybe, fingers crossed, maybe we can still use our SketchFab objects or 3D models inside Google Web Designer, maybe, for example. Let's, fingers crossed, eh? So let's keep going with it. And okay, our Poly to SketchFab connects both your Poly and SketchFab accounts, presents you with a list of models that you can be transferred, and then copies the models that you selected from Poly to SketchFab. Okay, so I think this is just an example here, so that looks cool. Right, let's scroll down a bit. Ooh. We are able to copy all 3D files from Poly except those created in Tilt Brush. That's a shame. Or Tool Creator. Never did any of those. Okay, but that's a shame too. If you're a Tilt Brush user, you can publish your work directly from Tilt Brush to SketchFab. Using Tilt Brush plugin, SketchFab Exporter. You can learn more about the exporter in this blog post. Alright, well I'll put that in the description in the comments below. That's sad actually, because I remember, I think it was a comment that was made a couple of months ago by someone who only just got Tilt Brush, and they were super gutted that obviously Poly was closing. Alright, let's keep going, and then some apps will be using Poly as an integral library asset. SketchFab also offers this functionality through our download API, giving access to 500,000 freely downloadable Creative Commons models. Dyslexic moment. Poly to SketchFab app was made possible in part by our robust data API, which allows for easy 3D publishing. If you want to add SketchFab import or export to your app, you can find out more about it in our developer pages and join the developer forum. So that'd be cool. Right, and then we've got a quick sign off by the guys. Is that Silverman Zimmer? Oh God, I can't pronounce that. I apologise. I'm just, my dyslexia gets in the way of words that have complicated letters to get combined. Anyway, moving on, and then obviously you've got the sharing about it and the place to leave some comments. So I think let's have a go at doing that transfer now. So I'm going to transfer my models. Right, so I need to connect my Google Poly account. Okay, you won't be able to see this because I'm going to blur over it. Okay, view the Poly assets. Okay, let's just... Okay. Okay, allow. Right. You're allowing polysketchfab.com to associate with your personal info in Google. Okay, that's not so good. See your personal info, including... Okay, not great. And view your email address. Fine. Shame. I guess... Because it's grayed out, does that mean it's not actually accessing it? Not particularly happy, but hey-ho. I mean, I want to transfer my files, right? Okay, we're doing that part. Right, so we now need to connect the SketchFab account. Right. Now, obviously, it looks like I must have logged into my SketchFab account already, or it's still retained. So, Poly SketchFab requires the following. List and display your models, upload, update models, and modify your profile. Okay, accept. What about modifying my profile? Okay, we found all the objects. This is great. So let's have a quick look. Apologies for my models. They're not the best. Okay, yeah, so we've got my Cylon Raider stuff, we've got the tap animation, a couple of the TIE Fighter stuffs in their GLLB form and OBJ form. We've got the Interceptor, we've got the animated Taiwan, and then we've got that pumpkin made by my mate Ginger Ninja. Okay, great. So, look, and down at the bottom there, you can disconnect from Google and disconnect from SketchFab. Interesting. Okay, well, I'll start the upload process. Congratulations, you are now transferring your models. Hang on, I'll read that again, sorry. Congratulations, we're now transferring your models. This can be a long process depending on the number of models you selected. You should start receiving an email from SketchFab with links to your uploads as they proceed. You can always restart the process later, just to be sure to keep the ID of your former Poly model in SketchFab model description to avoid duplication. This is done automatically. Okay. The page load. Right, so that's happening apparently. So maybe what I should do is head over to my SketchFab account. Right, I'll do that now. Right, so we're in my SketchFab account. Nothing's come over just yet. Right, I'm going to... might not be a quick process, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to probably pause for a moment, and then I'll come back. Alright guys, I got an email, and I got one link so far, and they've transferred one object so far, and that is the OBJ of the TIE Fighter I did. So that's come across, which is great. That was 2 minutes ago, so I'm just going to jump into my email quickly. Okay, so we've got another object here, and it's the pumpkin made by my mate Ginger Ninja, who has an account on SketchFab. Now this is the transferred version of the one on Google Poly to SketchFab. Now actually this object originally came from SketchFab, and I transferred it into Google Poly. However, we can see it's not actually rotating terribly well. It seems to be off the axis. Let me jump into and let me open up what the original one would have looked like. Okay, and here's the original object that was created by Ginger Ninja in SketchFab, and you can see actually the axis isn't off. So that's frustrating. So definitely the transfer hasn't gone terribly well, but that's okay. You know, there's bound to be some issues with it. And I'm not expecting it to be completely seamless, but that's okay. That's okay. Apparently, right, to finish the process, this model is draft. Publish it to display it and share it according to the model properties. This draft will automatically be deleted on April the 13th unless you publish it. Oh, so that's interesting. So you can transfer all your files across, but you must individually publish every one of them. So I'm going to get an individual email about every one of them as they come through, and then I'm going to have to make a decision if I want to keep it or not. So obviously in this case, just for posterity, I'm going to obviously hit publish, and that's done. Right, got it. Now I'll go to see my model inside my account. Right, and there it is. Now it's in my account. But as we can see, it's a bit broken there. Right, I'm going to transfer over to the TIE Fighter I looked at a moment ago. Yep, and again, same principle. I do need to actually publish it. I didn't spot that straight away the first time. Great. Right, well, I'm going to do one more look for another... sorry. Oh no, look! Ah, okay, so I've just published this one, and we can see also that this one has lost all its extra styling which I did in Poly, and again the axis is off, which is really frustrating. So that information isn't necessarily transferring through terribly well. Oh, that's frustrating. Let's go and have a look at the original, see if we can see. So it's this one over here. See, there you go. Look, the axis isn't a problem. So that's frustrating. That's really frustrating. So anything that is being published across isn't going to necessarily retain all that data. That is frustrating. But I guess that's part of the process, right? They're not necessarily going to be able to copy over or replicate all the elements or the setups which we had within Google Poly. Okay, well, I'll do one final check. Let's have another look. Okay, nope, I haven't had any others. No, so it looks like I haven't had any other ones come across. So I'll just go back. I'll be in my profile and just refresh. So far of the sort of, I think I have about 7 or 8 3D objects. They've all come through, but the axis, as you can see there, in fact, is completely out from the transfer of the Google Poly objects. That is a shame. However, ultimately, it's great that the guys at SketchFab and Google Poly have spoken and have found a way of helping out the rest of us who created objects and getting them transferred to another platform. So anyway, it's kind of sort of 50% like, yeah, great, well done, but also 50% I'm slightly gutted that it hasn't come through correctly. Now, of course, that could be down to the objects I created. It could be just the way I did it, and maybe my setup wasn't terribly efficient. Maybe that's part of the reason, or it's just part of the translation process that it just doesn't work. Anywho, that's the situation. But hey, on the positive, there you go. We've got a way of transferring our objects across. So yeah, that's it. That's the process. I recommend having a go yourself. And maybe let me know if you've come across similar problems. I'd be interested to know if you guys are having the same problems I've had there. Clearly that my objects aren't set up correctly for the transfer. But it'd be great to see what you guys say. So just as a quick update, obviously if you haven't seen the video about the death of Poly, I highly recommend looking at that. Also, coming up in sort of mid-April, I'm hoping to have a video about the new updates coming from Google Web Designer. I've kind of alluded to that, but I don't want to talk about it just yet. But there are some new updates that I'm sure a lot of us will actually be really happy about. So it'll be good to talk about that. And also, if you haven't seen it yet, my sort of new series I'm doing about building a game in Spark AR called Finding Bernie. So if you want to have a go at that as well, please do join me on that journey as well. All right. Thanks for your time, guys. Bye. Do let me know if you like this video or not. And also do subscribe. It will help with that mystical, magical algorithm that YouTube use to help with YouTube channels. So I would appreciate it. Also, you can now follow me on Instagram and keep up to date with all the things I'm experimenting with and trying out. And finally, you can also download all the projects I've created from GitHub. Thanks.